We see that the only way that we will create a world of peace and harmony and equality and justice is through building bridges of understanding and appreciation of our many differences. It's not about teaching the whole world to sing the same song, but learning to appreciate each other's songs that can ultimately bring harmony to humanity. And this approach runs counter to the idea that it is through one true doctrine that the world will someday be blessed. Do you know that in this church, before there was a mosque here in Tulsa, Muslims used to pray here in what is now the president's room? Did you know that for 2 years the Jewish community of B'nai Amunah, just down the street here on Peoria, used this place of All Souls as their place of worship and education for 2 years while they were going through some remodeling? And did you know that the Tibetan Buddhist group, Bodhicharya of Oklahoma, held their services in this church for 2 years? And so here at All Souls, we have an intimate relationship with people of other faiths. And our point is that we do not think that they need to forsake their faith or traditions in order for the human family to live as one in peace and in harmony. We like them just the way they are. We dare to presume that people the world over will never all pray alike, love alike, vote alike, think alike, or believe alike. So this church is focused on building unity without uniformity, and on demonstrating that diversity does not have to mean divisiveness. In fact, diversity is something that can be cherished, should be cherished, and celebrated. But before we start congratulating ourselves and patting ourselves on the back, we have to look at the world around us and the incredible segregation of people by colors and classes and cultures and creeds. We have to look at the enormous levels of genocide and homicide and suicide today that are fueled by prejudice and hate and ignorance and greed. And we have to ask, what are people like you and me doing with a faith like this? Honest people want to know, are we walking our talk? If we know what we stand for, are we standing up for what we know? I purposely did not make this message about a history lesson about Unitarianism in Europe and America. You can come to my roots class or one of our ministers' roots classes, and you can learn more than you ever wanted to know about church history and the roots of Unitarianism. Today's message is not meant to be about what others did in the past, but it's about what we are called to do now. It's not titled, "What Was a Unitarian?" That would be a historical sermon. It was purposely titled, "What is a Unitarian?" So I go back to the statement that the human family is one and is only divided by prejudice, ignorance, hatred, and greed. Being a part of this church is not just an exercise in developing elaborate theories and theologies about human togetherness and the nature of God or creation. No, we are being asked, how are you breaking down the walls of ignorance, prejudice, hate, and greed that divide, demean, and destroy the human family? How are you, in your life, today, this week, this month, this year, building bridges? This is a serious question about walking our talk. And we're not being asked how we can go out and help the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda get along. We're not being asked or called to figure out how the Israelis and the Palestinians can get along. You and I are being asked something much more direct and powerful. We are being asked to continually work to learn to get along with someone or someones who look different, love different, think different, vote different, pray different, and maybe even speak differently than we do or you do. Now, that's not theoretical. That's real. That's as real as it gets. And it scares a lot of people who would rather remain comfortably numb in the bubble of their own little idiosyncratic perception of reality. But to be a Unitarian or to be a member of this church of all souls by whatever name is to say, I do not want to die having lived my whole life in a bubble. It is to dare to journey to the crossroads of human understanding. It is to be a pilgrim willing to brave the dangers and harvest the blessings of a voyage into the unknown, rather than to remain in a comfortable but compromised sleep. So beginning on September 12th, with our big homecoming services and festivities, we will be kicking off a year of programs and activities where you'll be able to be with people, some of whom are just like you, and others who may be quite different from you, with whom you can learn with and sing with, be in a small group with, become friends with, feed the homeless with, teach with, eat with, and much more. Now, I could tell a lot of stories about people and what happens to them in this church sometimes when they've grown more free or more whole in who they are through engaging with people different from themselves. But I'm going to conclude this message with just one story. You probably know that this church is an official welcoming congregation. Now, what that means in our association is that we are welcoming and affirming of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. Now, but this did not just happen. We had a 4-year process of education and discussion that led to a unanimous vote of this congregation. Well, during that 4 years, we held programs on Sundays and on Wednesday nights. There were sermons and seminars and speakers on subjects that most people don't like to talk about in polite company, and certainly not in church. Now, one Sunday after the service, an elderly lady in her 80s came up to me and said, "You're not going to believe what happened to me today." I said, "Try me." She explained that she was going to one of our Sunday morning Bible classes, and when she arrived and sat down, the class was already underway. She quietly took her seat in the front of the classroom. As she listened, it didn't take long for her to realize that she was in the wrong room. It turns out that she stumbled into a panel discussion about bisexuality. At first, she felt very uncomfortable, and she thought that she'd just get up and go. But then she realized that it might send the wrong message if she walked out. So, being the polite lady that she was, she stayed for the entire discussion. And she looked at me with the sweetest smile and said, "You know what? I'm glad I stayed."